Hello, ladies and gentlemen, wrestling fans, and welcome back to the Duke's Dive. This is Steven, aka the Duke of Disputation, and I'm here to give you a week's worth of wrestling recap. Last week was Impact Wrestling's big main. Well, not. It's one of their bigger. Last week was a. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Duke's Dive. This is Steven, aka the Duke of Disputation, and I am about to give you a week's worth of wrestling information and recaps. I want to start off this week with Impact Wrestling's pay-per-view event, Hard to Kill. I'm going to wrap this thing, keep this close to the heart, and very quick. The show opened up with Madman Fulton versus Ken Shamrock. Chris Boys get involved many times, then they get ejected. Sawyer looking like a real Lance Archer with his new hairdo. I don't know if it was new, but I don't keep up too much. Shamrock looked awesome, maybe better than ever. Shamrock kind of seems like he dislocates Fulton's arm with a submission move, and then Shamrock submits him with an extension hold after that, and it just looked like his arm was just hanging there. Great match. We move on to Ace Austin versus Trey Miguel, the X Division or Triple X Division champion as it is, and we will see him, Ace Austin, take on Tony Deppen January 31st this month, coming up at True Wrestling at Plains, Pennsylvania. The X Division, very illustrious, top belt in the company. Past holders of this belt are Kip Sabian, Samoa Joe. This match was super hard hitting. Ace Austin was on 11. The X Division is the best cruiserweight style wrestling on American TV, in my opinion. And I love NXT and what they've done with, the cruiserweight and 205 Live, but right here, this is it, man. Ace wins with the fold after knocking Trey off the top rope with a very innovative move. Then after the match, Trey attacks Ace, and after that Ace tries to get a celebratory kiss from Trey's mom, which is what Trey attacked him for after that match. We move on to Taya Valkyrie versus Jordynne Grace versus ODB. Both ODB and Jordynne Grace have pinned Taya. Jordynne at the brewery brawl that happened the Friday before this event. Taya has been a Knockouts champion for over 370 days. ODB still going strong. Jordynne Grace was great. The crowd was strongly behind her. This is greatly structured triple threat match. It wasn't a cluster pluck like a lot of different, triple threats are. Grace with a nasty cannonball off the top rope to ODB, and Grace hits a Grace driver on ODB, but Sonny Bravo disrupts the ref, pulls Grace out, allowing Taya to pin ODB. So, but spoiler alert, just recently at a Mexico taping, spoiler alert, Jordynne Grace has become the Knockouts champion. We move on to RVD versus Brian Cage. RVD was heel all the way around, down to his moveset, and he didn't do his classic moves. Really played into the Brian Cage stole all of his moves things. Impact is not afraid to name drop at all tonight, as they go from dropping just about any star's name from any company anywhere. Cage's mouth gets busted open in this match, but we see a neat Van Terminator from RVD. I think this is what gave him the concussion in this match. A lot of our guys got hurt during the Hard to Kill event. Forbes, very annoying, but very good looking. So, come see, come saw, give and take. Referee tries to call the match after, well, he doesn't try it, he does call the match, which then leads us to a impromptu match with Daga, because Daga comes out and tries to help. Then Rob attacks Daga. We see a match between RVD and Daga. It is a nice little match, very short. Forb gets involved. RVD works super slow paced. I think he had a concussion after the Van Terminator. And then RVD does win with a 5-star frog splash. Hopefully we see a more fleshed out RVD versus Daga match in the future. Bang. We move on to Michael Elgin versus Eddie Edwards. It was great to see Michael Elgin back on American TV after the little incident that happened, and he kind of spent a lot of time in New Japan and then finally come back from overseas to America. Blah, blah, blah. Awesome slam to the outside, flip from the apron from Elgin. Eddie was just very different in this match, very different 2019-2020 for him. Elgin still feels very New Japan Pro Wrestling based in his moveset, best in years. I always liked him. Eddie Edwards does pin Elgin with a sunset flip after Elgin buckle bombed Edwards, then immediately tried to do it again. We move on to Moose versus Eddie Edwards. Moose versus Rhino. I don't know why I had Eddie Edwards there. Excuse me. Holy moly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. Moose was paying homage to Macho Man Randy Savage with his gear. I loved it. Rhino did a pickup power bomb to a charging Moose, and then threw him through a table bridged on the outside. Moose hits a Savage elbow drop from the top rope. In respect to Macho Man Randy Savage, he tries again, but Rhino beats him with a chair, suplexes him on top of other chairs, but Moose does pin Rhino with a spear after hitting Rhino with a low blow. And we move on to the North versus Rich Swann and Willie Mack. Rich Swann was injured at Bash at the brewery and could not compete with a broken leg or something along those lines. An injured leg. Willie Mack versus the North was very, very decently paced. It looked like Willie actually had a chance. Willie stacks Alexander on top of Page and hits a super Canadian Destroyer. Willie hits a 6-star frog splash. Ethan pulls the ref out of the ring, and the North win with an impressive double team move after a decent striking sequence. We move on to the main event of the evening. Impact Wrestling Impact Heavyweight title on the line between Sami Callihan and Tessa Blanchard. Blanchard gets hit with a Cactus 37 right off the gate, a pile driver to start the thing off with. As if it didn't piss people off enough that a woman was wrestling for the Impact Heavyweight Championship, we're going to piss them off even more. We're going to hit a pile driver. The first move of the show, pile driver. Bang. Blanchard hits a somersault senton off the top rope to the outside. Sami kept hawking loogies on himself, on her, on the ref, on the fans, on everybody. The camera guy, the vendors, the fans, his mom, your gram. Spit him on himself, just hawking loogies. Man was just gleaming with mucus. Okay, enough. That's how I felt, too. Blanchard is the best. I don't know. Like I said, they play Tessa's knee injury from a toss into the barricade early on in the match, and they play that throughout with her having a knee injury, knee pain going on in the ring as we speak. Daddy. Tessa gets put through a table on the outside, but beats a 10 count at 9. This is exactly how intergender wrestling should be. I thought this was a great intergender match. It was not only in style, but to me, the best style for intergender wrestling. I do like my funny stuff, but this was no laughing matter. This was a straight up brawl. Callahan does try to get the belt involved and Knuckles involved, but he gets a low blow to his avail. He gets a low blow, and then Tessa hits a move off the top rope for a 2 count into a submission. Sammy breaks out of by biting her hand. Tessa does win this match after a destroyer in the ring, and then one off the top rope, and then she hits her signature DDT. It was lights out for Sami Callihan. Move on from him being champion, and we have history in Impact Wrestling as the first ever woman Impact Heavyweight Champion. I think this is groundbreaking for the company. I think this will bring us a lot of different waves throughout the whole Russellverse. The branches of the Russellverse are quaking after this. I think, like I said, not only is it groundbreaking for the company, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot of waves from this match quake throughout the branches of the Russellverse, my friends. That was my review of Hard to Kill. I thought it was a really good show. I think you should go out of your way to watch it. Like I said, my match of that event was Ace Austin versus Trey Miguel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to move right into AEW Bash at the Beach. AEW opened up with a nice tribute to Rocky Johnson, both with a image, a little bit of a clip thing, and a call out on commentary. So that was pretty nice of them. And Rocky Johnson, of course, a pioneer for wrestling, not just WWE, but wrestling in general. Color barriers, and a guy like that deserves a tribute from any company, and it was good to see AEW honor him in that way after his unfortunate passing. We opened up the show with Paige and Omega versus LAX versus the Young Bucks versus the Best Friends. This was a number 1 contender match to face SCU. I did like Chuck Taylor and Hangman Page in this one. That was very good. They worked together very well. Omega and the Bucks worked together. Instead of facing against each other, they kind of worked together in the triple variety, Page and Omega do win this, so they become the number 1 contenders for the tag team titles as they go up to face SCU. I would have liked to see Best Friends win that, but it's good to see Hangman Page hold back on the drinking for a little bit and win some matches with his friend Omega. And it's good to see that Omega didn't let the stuff with Michael Nakazawa being attacked by Pac get to him enough to lose this match. And this was a big one. Hopefully it doesn't affect him anyway with the championship match when they come up to face SCU. Hopefully everything's in order for those guys, and we see a great match out of SCU and Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. Next up, we had Cody Rhodes come out and address MJF. He said MJF always wanted to be famous. You know, his parents paraded him on the Rosie O'Donnell show. Cody didn't come out with Arn this time, though. He had asked MJF his price, and I guess MJF responded with some stipulations. The stipulations that were laid out by MJF were that Cody cannot touch MJF until Revolution. He must take 10 lashes on live TV, and he must be in a steel cage match against Wardlow. Cody thinks Wardlow will outshine MJF and make MJF become his bag boy. Cody accepts and will give MJF his own scar at Revolution. Next up, the Nightmare Collectives. Brandy Rhodes and Mel took on Chris Statlander and Hiroku Shida. Mel is Melanie Cruz from Shimmer and WoW. I was looking her up just to make sure I had a little bit of a background on that woman, and she has quite a background out there. You go out there and look at what she's got. You know, she isn't just somebody they pick. Well, she is canon-wise somebody to pick out of the crowd, but you know, she is very historic, you know, very well-traveled. And I thought this Shida was the one that was always in mixed matches with Kenny Omega. I'm not sure that was real, unless that was real. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not very versed on the women of AEW yet. So, I mean, aside from Nyla Rose, Chris Statlander, and, you know, Britt Baker, those guys, but the other ones I'm not exactly too well versed on, so excuse my ignorance on that note. Mel and Statlander were very good together. Statlander wins with, I think it was her Big Bang Theory. She hit that on Mel. Next up, we had a Dark Order promo. They say they are after Michael Nakazawa and hopefully Kenny Omega, but they don't see that happening until a little bit later down the line. They're after Steve Cutler, and they're also after Adam Page. They want to recruit them into the Dark Order. So that's very interesting, to say the least. I have really started liking what the Dark Order has in store for us. Next up, we had Sammy Guevara versus Jon Moxley. Sammy Guevara is really growing on me. You know, he's using the picture-in-picture time very well to his advantage. You know, he has the cue cards and stuff like that. So, whatever kind of like little promo he wants to cut on the cue cards, it's, you know, everybody can read that right in picture-in-picture while the commercials are going on. And it always seems to be, when he comes out, they go to picture anyway, so he's making lemonade out of them lemons. Boy, let me tell you what with that. Sammy had a nice Spanish fly off the top rope. Moxley does tap him out with a submission choke, though. The lights go out. The Inner Circle attack Jon Moxley. Jericho rips one of the spikes off of his jacket and gouges Moxley in the eye with it. Just crazy. They had to send Mox to the back with a coat spike jammed in his eyeball. That's not good. That's not how a champ should act. And he slapped him with the belt. Disputatious Inner Circle. Next up, we had the match of the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny versus QT Marshall, Dustin Rhodes, and DDP. This was my standout match of the event. QT and MJF worked pretty well together. It was great to see DDP. He looked amazing, doing dives to the outside off the top rope. MJF rolls up and beats QT Marshall, though, of course, because Maxwell Jacob Friedman is disputatious. Next up, we had the main event of the evening, which featured the Bastard Pac versus Darby Allin. Darby Allin's really growing on me as I watch him more and more. The two mixed better than I had hoped. It looked like Darby Allin hurt his shoulder early on. Pac seemed way more powerful than him. He just kind of like threw him around most of the match. But Darby does get a good offense in. He gashes his arm in this match. He hits a coffin drop off the top rope, but Pac wins after hitting a black arrow off the top rope. We are going to get Pac versus Omega. Pac versus Omega is going to be brutal. Chris Jericho, Rager. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. We are going to get Pac versus Omega at the Chris Jericho Rager at Sea Part 2. I think that's the next upcoming thing for AEW. So that's what we're going to see, is Pac go up against Omega. So, well then hopefully all that Michael Nakazawa drama is cleared up before the tag team match, or maybe not. Maybe it's going to even go further down the rabbit hole. Who knows? But Pac says that Moxley is injured, though, and has to forfeit his title shot. But Moxley escapes the ambulance that he was in from earlier on in the show, looking like Big Boss. And the Kodak call. He had to get out of that ambulance and come in. He said he comes to the ramp and say he will fight next week, and he will fight Pac. And I think that is going to be a number one contender match. I do believe. But pretty good showing from AEW this week, if I do say so myself. And I ask you to hold on as I also cover NXT. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, wrestling fans alike, I'm back as we go to cover NXT from the week. AEW was AEW Bash at the Beach, and I had called this one NXT Not at the Beach. NXT also had a nice little opening tribute to Rocky Johnson, which was awesome. Keith Lee, of course, opens up the show, cuts a promo on being the number one contender for the North American title, says the Undisputed Era have reached their peak while he is limitless. The Undisputed Era attack him. Roderick snaps his ankle in a chair, but Tommaso Ciampa comes to his aid. We go into a Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic match, the first match of the evening. We have Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle, who they call, what do they call it? The Broserweights, but the internet made a better one for them guys. It's called Joint Manipulation. So it was Joint Manipulation versus Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. I didn't know too much about these guys, but these guys just come off a match, a very very grueling tag team TLC match at Blackpool, TakeOver Blackpool. I'm high on Flash Morgan Webster. I do like him. It was very good action. I even watched picture-in-picture. Usually, if the action's cut off with picture-in-picture, I just cut through the commercial nonsense. But this was good enough to where I even watched the picture-in-picture stuff. We had a nice little deadlift rolling suplex from Riddle. I love that. Love to see that. And that happened picture-in-picture. Joint manipulation focuses on Flash Morgan Webster's knee throughout the picture-in-picture segment, though. The way joint manipulation worked together was awesome. It looked like they had worked together for years. They have worked together before, but it looks like they have been a cohesive unit for years. Had a neat little double kick to the head from JM. Joint manipulation. Flash Morgan Webster with a stellar swanton bomb to joint manipulation on the outside, and a nice electric chair poison Rana from Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. 2, of course, Dunn and Riddle. Riddle and Dunn do win with an awesome double finishing move. They move up into the bracket for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. I will give you an update on the updated bracket later on in my coverage. We had a little backstage segment that showed that an update will be given on Keith Lee later on in the show as far as the injury and if it had anything to do, any bearing on his North American title match coming up. Next up, we've seen Tommaso Ciampa come out. He cuts a promo on being number 1 contender for Adam Cole. Says Cole is on his hit list and he will be taking back his life, his Goldie. Evidently he didn't pay too much attention to when Keith Lee come out there without any backup. He didn't evidently pay attention to how the Undisputed Era treated Keith Lee, because he come out to save Keith Lee, but then come out to cut this promo without any kind of backup whatsoever. I mean, I know he's a tough bitch, but I mean, you would have thought he would have had somebody come to his aid. Cut to Johnny Gargano coming to his aid. A little bit of a DIY reunion, huh? Next up here, we would have what I thought was going to be my match of the evening, my match of the show, but it was not. Alex Shelley and Kushida, the Time Splitters, versus the Grizzled Young Veterans. Of course, the Grizzled Young Veterans are a tag team in the UK. Time Splitters just felt right together. Understand it kind of messes up the Motor City Machine Guns on the indie scene, but maybe when Kushida goes solo, we'll get a Motor City Machine Gun reunion on NXT. Maybe next Dusty Rhodes Classic or something like that, we'll see the reunion of Motor City Machine Guns on NXT. Or maybe we'll see them on the indies. Who knows? We don't know what's going on here with Alex Shelley. He's been offered I guess they're going to keep working together after this. I don't know. Did they win? I don't know. Steven, shut up. The Grizzled Young Veterans took out the Mustache Mountain before the Tag Team Classic matches. Alex Shelley was over huge with the crowd. Time Splitters work super good together. We had Grizzled Young Veterans win after pushing Kushida off the top rope. They cut the two off and they hit their finisher on Shelley in the ring, And like I said, I wasn't too happy with that ending. I, of course, wanted Time Splitters to go on in the Tag Team Classic, but I see, with them trying to do a little NXT versus NXT UK thing, it would be good to keep these guys on, because the updated tournament bracket goes like this. The next tournament round will be Imperium versus Dunn and Riddle, Joint Manipulation, and Undisputed Era versus the Grizzled Young Veterans. So, personally, I think the Grizzled Young Veterans are going to go down to the Undisputed Era, and it's going to come down to Imperium versus Undisputed Era. That's leading into the Worlds Collide event. It's going to push more for the, NXT versus NXT UK stuff. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I feel on that. Next up was an awesome triple threat match. Lio Rush versus Swerve Scott versus Tyler Breeze for the number one contendership for the Cruiserweight Champion. Of course, our Angel Garza is the Cruiserweight Champion, and he was on commentary. Swerve and Rush were super good together. This was a very good match. Breeze became more of a threat towards the end, but it kind of just seemed like it was Swerve and Rush for most of the part, where Breeze kind of was just there, like I said, until the end, where he kind of opened up more. Scott does pin Breeze with a JML driver. And like I said, so Swerve Scott becomes number one Cruiserweight champion contender, and will take on Angel Garza soon, if not at that Revolution. Not Revolution, that's AEW. Holy moly, am I mixing up my shows here. But we have a little promo from DIY backstage, and I guess they were offered a match by Mustache Mountain, and they kind of agreed to a little DIY reunion, as Undisputed Era then tried to attack them. Of course, the Undisputed Era and EV2 know one thing to do, it's to attack people in droves. But Keith Lee comes out to even things up in this outside little segment, which we see a Smart Mark Alley approved wrestler, Mambo Italiano, out here. So I thought that was awesome. Congratulations to Mambo Italiano for being on NXT as a security guard. It was awesome. It was awesome to see you get tossed around by Keith Lee. But he broke the number one rule: don't mess with Mambo. So, I don't know, man. Keith Lee better watch his back, boy. Let me tell you. Next up, we had what I'm going to call my match of the night. And you know what? Because of the implications that went on in this match, and because of the people in the match, this was my match of the week. Yes, indeed. This was my match of the night for NXT, and it was my match of the week. It was a NXT Women's Championship number one contender battle royale, and I know you're thinking he gave his match of the week to a battle royal. It was a very good battle royal. We had Casey Catanzaro returning, the American Ninja Warrior. She did awesome in here. And we had the debut of Mercedes Martinez. Deonna Purrazzo was in this match. Casey was very innovative with her American Ninja Warrior background. Shitty commercial timing though. And they didn't do any kind of picture-in-picture. So I hope nobody was eliminated at that point in time, because I really wasn't able to see what was going on when they cut to commercial and then didn't do any kind of picture-in-picture. You would think Of any of the matches that they were to give picture-in-picture to would have been this one. Shotzi Blackheart was in this match, and they kind of teased a little Shotzi Blackheart Deonna Purrazzo thing as Blackheart eliminates Purrazzo, who pulls her out from under the ring, and then those two tussle, but Shotzi was not eliminated. We had a tease for a Baszler and Martinez feud. That would be awesome. Bianca Belair does eliminate Blackheart. Bianca Belair eliminates Shirai. And Bianca Belair becomes the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship title. So we will see Bianca Belair go one-on-one with Rhea Ripley. Yes, indeed, I think that's going to be a great match. All in all, a great week of wrestling. I have to give the nod to NXT this week just because of that Women's Battle Royal. All in all, like I said, it was a very, very good week of wrestling. I'm excited for this weekend. We will be going to Clearfield for Caged Resolution up there at Asylum Pro at the Clearfield Fairgrounds, January 25th. Stephen, January 25th. If you caught the promo, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I interviewed the Madman Crazy Shay, and I screwed up, even though he told me the day. I screwed up on the promo, but you know what? Shay's a professional, and he got the information out that needed to be out there. I let him do his thing. January 25th, this weekend coming up, ladies and gentlemen, it will be Asylum Pro Cage Resolution. 3 cage matches with very big implications towards Asylum Pro's future. Then on the 26th, we take over Sayre again with Northern Tier Wrestling. And on the 31st, we go back to Plains for our True Wrestling. And on the 1st, we take over the 2300 Arena again as we go up there for MLW Fightland. That is very exciting news for Rope to Rope, Team Philly, Smart Mark Alley, and Team Philly Enterprises. So that's what we got going on for the immediate future here. Hope you all stay warm. Hope you all lasted through the blizzard of 2020 here, the January 18th blizzard, or whatever you want to call it. And keep warm as we keep you warm going into these awesome events, ladies and gentlemen. I'll catch up with you next week. I'll try to upload on Thursday night, or Thursday during the evening, whatever you want to call it. And I'll catch up with you guys next week. Thank you for listening. This has been the Duke. This is the Duke's Dive. Duke.